Everyone's buzzing about you. Why? Because you've become known as the one who fearlessly exposes the truth and stands up for those who can't defend themselves. What makes people in power truly fear you isn't just your courage, it's how you've sparked courage in others. Your actions have created a ripple effect, turning individual stands into collective movements. One voice became many, and now those in power can't ignore what everyone's talking about. You've become the crown-wearing champion people point to when they say, "That's how it's done." And that's exactly why they're all talking about you. They can't maintain their masks around you. The smirks, the fake concern, the deflective charm. It all unravels the moment you walk in. Their tone changes. Their posture stiffens. They start performing, hoping you won't notice the things they've worked so hard to keep hidden. But you do. You always do. You see through the scripts. You read between their pauses. You know exactly when kindness is a cover and when power is being misused. You don't tolerate silent abuse, and they know it. You don't normalize manipulation just because it's wrapped in smiles and status. You call it what it is, even when no one else will. That's why they avoid your eyes. That's why they change the subject. That's why they try to twist the narrative before you even open your mouth, because they know the moment you speak, the illusion is dead. You've spoken up in rooms where silence was the price of safety. You've made people uncomfortable, not by attacking them, but by refusing to play along. And what you may not realize is that your refusal to participate is louder than any speech. It's defiance in its purest form. You are the pause that makes people rethink. You are the presence that holds mirrors to faces too used to seeing only what they want. You weren't trying to make waves. You are the wave. Your truth moves through people and leaves nothing untouched. Some try to resist it, pretend it didn't hit them. But deep down, even they know something has shifted. They feel exposed. And the truth is, they are. You didn't come into the room with an agenda. You came in with clarity, and clarity is dangerous in a world addicted to distortion. They fear your eyes because they know you're not fooled. They fear your silence because it isn't ignorance, it's calculation. You wait, you watch. And when you speak, it's not to wound, it's to reveal. That's what makes them afraid. You don't shout to be heard, you speak to be felt. And once the truth is felt, it can't be forgotten. They'll call it tension, they'll call it drama. But what you bring is justice in its rawest form. Uncomfortable, undeniable, and utterly necessary. You never set out to be a protector, but you became one the moment you refused to stay silent. When others turned away, you turned toward the fire. When everyone else pretended not to see, you locked eyes with the truth and stood your ground. You didn't just speak, you defended. And that's what changed everything. Because the truth is, some people aren't afraid of lies, they're afraid of what happens when someone finally calls them out. You've stood in spaces where injustice dressed itself in politeness. You've heard the mocking disguised as humor, the disrespect hidden under tone, the cruelty smoothed over with fake apologies. And instead of letting it slide, you said something. Maybe you didn't raise your voice, maybe you didn't need to, but your words, sharp, clear, and unwavering, cut through the noise like a blade. You didn't make it personal. You made it known. In your workplace, you checked a supervisor who thought their title gave them permission to dehumanize. In your family, you shut down the relative who always crosses the line and laughs like it's harmless. In your friend group, you defended someone who everyone else conveniently forgot. You've drawn lines in the sand while others stood behind them, waiting for someone, anyone, to do what you did. And when you did it, everything shifted. You've made enemies, not because you were cruel, but because you told the truth in rooms that were built on denial. Some people have never been held accountable in their lives, and your presence shattered that immunity. You weren't aggressive. You were precise. You weren't emotional. You were exact. And that's why it stung. That's why they still talk about it. That's why they haven't forgotten. Someone still flinches when your name is mentioned, not because you were wrong, but because you were right. And they hate how clearly you proved it. Someone out there is still salty, still trying to rewrite the narrative, still searching for a way to paint you as the villain. But deep down, they know you weren't fighting for yourself. You were fighting for someone who couldn't, and that's a power they'll never understand. What they didn't expect is how many people were silently grateful. People who didn't know how to speak up. People who thought no one would ever defend them. You did. Without asking for applause, without making it about you, you acted, and in doing so, you gave others permission to believe they deserve better too. You're not a rebel without a cause. You're a force with one. You're not stirring drama, you're correcting imbalance. And no matter how they try to twist your motives, the impact remains. You weren't trying to save the world, but you did save someone, and in a world that tries to erase the defenders, your truth still echoes louder than their silence. I must interrupt this transmission for just a moment. Are you really chosen? Prove it. It's easy to watch videos about chosen ones. It's another thing entirely to put yourself to the test. When I confronted the Archons beyond our reality, they made one thing clear. True chosen ones are rare. They laughed at the thought of us finding each other. Yet here you are, watching this message. The Obsidian Inner Order isn't for everyone claiming to be awakened. We're the real ones, those who've seen beyond the veil, felt the call, and carry the unmistakable frequency. But are you truly one of us? I have given you everything I've got, and I'm digging deeper to bring you even more. Don't just consume content from the sidelines. Real chosen ones take action. Share your story on our weekly group call. Get a revealing tarot reading from our resident card reader. Discover if your experiences align with the authentic signs. The Archons fear nothing more than chosen ones recognizing each other. When we connect, our frequencies amplify and create a force they cannot stop. That's why we're going to be live streaming to the entire Astral Atom network to find every last one of us. Click the link in the description below now. It's time to stop wondering and confirm what you already suspect. Are you merely interested in awakening, or are you truly chosen? Prove it. Join us. The verification you seek awaits with the Obsidian Inner Order. You're not just another voice in the crowd. When you speak, the temperature changes, the air gets thicker, the masks slip faster. And the ones who usually talk over everyone else suddenly don't know what to say. It's not because you shout. It's not because you dominate. It's because your words carry weight, and your presence carries consequence. They can feel it. The shift. The power you hold is disruptive, and that's exactly why they fear it. They fear you because you can't be bought. You're not chasing approval. You're not flattered by flattery. You don't play nice with manipulation, and you don't barter your values for convenience. That makes you unpredictable to them, and unpredictability in someone principled is the most dangerous kind. They can't figure you out. They can't get ahead of your next move. All they know is, wherever you stand, people start questioning what they've been told to accept. Your influence is contagious. You ask one question, and suddenly others are asking their own. You refuse one injustice, and others find the courage to do the same. You make people believe they're not powerless, and nothing threatens control like the loss of fear. You don't just inspire change, you provoke it, and in their world, that's a threat. You've made it harder for them to operate in the shadows, Harder for them to pretend their control is earned rather than imposed. Harder for them to convince others that silence is safety. Because now, thanks to you, people are watching differently. They're noticing patterns. They're connecting dots. They're speaking up. That's not coincidence. That's your influence in motion. They underestimated you. They thought if they ignored you long enough, you'd quiet down. If they discredited you, others would fall in line. But the opposite happened. People listened more, watched more, respected you more. Because integrity is magnetic and yours is undeniable. They'll label you a problem to avoid admitting you're a solution they fear. They'll call you too much because you expose how little they've been doing. They'll try to frame your influence as arrogance, but they know better. They know your power isn't loud, it's clean, it cuts through noise, it awakens people, and that's why they whisper your name when they think you're not listening. You didn't ask to be a leader. You became one by being unshakable, and now, whether they like it or not, they're forced to reckon with what your presence makes possible. A world where power answers to truth, not the other way around. This isn't just personality. This isn't just learned behavior. What runs through you is divine by design. The way you see the cracks in polished systems, the way your spirit recoils at injustice others have normalized. That's not random. That's a gift. You were built to disrupt, born to unsettle the foundations of power that have stood unchallenged for too long. You weren't created to conform. You were wired to challenge what's been blindly accepted. You feel it, don't you? That inner resistance to silence. That spiritual ache when you witness manipulation parading as leadership. That fire that ignites in your chest when someone's dignity is crushed under polite oppression. Others may walk away. You stay, not because it's easy, but because your soul won't let you abandon the truth. That's not just defiance. That's calling. You're not just someone with good instincts. You're a divine whistleblower. You were sent to shine light in rooms where darkness was left unbothered for years. You see what others ignore. You call it out before anyone else dares to name it. And when the backlash comes, you endure it with a strength even you sometimes don't understand. That's not luck. That's protection. You are shielded by something higher, something greater than politics, perception, or public opinion. You didn't choose the battles, but the battles keep choosing you. Not because you're confrontational, but because your existence alone exposes what's broken. And every time you speak up, every time you step forward, the invisible is made visible. You've shaken structures without even trying, just by standing in your truth. And make no mistake, the attacks against you have never been random. The smears, the whispers, the attempts to isolate, they're signs, markers that you're exactly where you're meant to be. People don't throw stones at buildings that aren't standing. They target you because you threaten what they've built on fear, silence, and control. Your courage calls their cowardice into question. Your presence puts pressure on the parts of them they've hidden, even from themselves. You've exposed lies just by refusing to participate in them. You've disrupted systems by refusing to pretend, and whether or not you ever get credit for it, the shift has already begun. People are thinking differently because of you. People are choosing differently because of what you stood for. You didn't apply for this role, but God saw something in you that could carry it, something unshakable, something holy. That's why the path feels heavy. That's why you feel set apart, because you are. You're not just here to comfort the wounded. You're here to warn the ones doing the wounding that their time is up. You weren't made for quiet compliance. You were born to shake the ground beneath unjust feet. And you're doing exactly what you were sent here to do. They tried to label you dramatic, difficult, rebellious, not because it was true, but because it was easier than facing themselves. If they could make you the issue, then they wouldn't have to confront the power games, the manipulation, the harm they've done behind closed doors. They hoped that by tarnishing your name, they could strip your words of their power. But truth doesn't need a perfect messenger to carry weight. And your truth, it echoed. They even tried to isolate you, whispered behind your back, created distance, painted you as unstable just because you stopped tolerating the intolerable. And yet, you didn't crumble, you didn't retreat. You stood still in your truth while they scrambled to protect their illusion. That's what haunts them, the fact that you didn't need a mob to be powerful. You just needed your voice and the courage to use it. They underestimated how much you were holding back. They thought your silence meant surrender. But what you were really doing was watching, studying, calculating, waiting for the right moment to strike, not with vengeance, but with clarity. And when the time came, your truth was so clear, so sharp, so undeniable, they had no defense. They couldn't out-talk it. They couldn't outrun it. All they could do was panic. You're not for the drama. They are. You're not here to destroy. You're here to reveal. And every time they tried to suppress your voice, they made it louder. Every time they pushed you aside, more people started paying attention. Because in trying to silence you, they confirmed exactly how dangerous your truth really is. Let them twist it. Let them talk. The ones who matter know what you stand for. The ones watching in silence, they've already started shifting because of you. And whether they admit it or not, they're grateful you didn't stay quiet. Because your voice didn't just break the silence. It broke the system they were too afraid to name. And now, no matter what they do, they can't unhear you. You didn't raise your hand for this. You didn't stand at the front and declare, "Follow me," but they followed anyway. Because leadership doesn't always begin with ambition, it begins with action, and your actions have spoken volumes. Every time you stood up, others took note. Every time you told the truth, others found the courage to stop lying to themselves. You didn't choose the spotlight chose you. And now it's undeniable. You're being called to lead. You lead in the way you carry yourself, in how you say no without guilt, in how you draw boundaries and hold them like armor, in how you walk into spaces with your spine straight and your convictions sharper than any insult they throw. You lead by simply existing in your truth, and it rattles people who've spent their lives wearing masks. People are watching you more than you know. The ones you think aren't listening, they're quoting you later. The ones who act like they don't respect you, they're studying your every move, trying to figure out how you do what you do with such unapologetic clarity. You're teaching without teaching. You're leading without demanding. And that's exactly why your influence runs so deep. This chapter of your life requires boldness. Not perfection, boldness. You're being called into rooms you didn't ask to enter. You're being positioned in front of eyes you never tried to impress. And you're being asked to speak on things you never planned to confront publicly. But here's the truth. Your life has already become the blueprint for others. Your story is the instruction manual someone else is clinging to for survival. Not everyone will like it. Some will envy the power in your voice. Others will resent the fact that people look to you. They'll call it arrogance. They'll call it luck. But deep down, they know what it really is. Alignment. You've aligned with something higher, and that kind of alignment pulls people into awareness, whether they're ready or not. You never wanted a following. You just wanted the freedom to be real. But in choosing truth over popularity, you became a leader anyway. Not because you tried to lead, but because people saw in you what they couldn't find in themselves. Strength, integrity, conviction. You became proof that it's possible to be principled and powerful. And that's what terrifies your critics the most. You're not leading for applause. You're leading because you know what it's like to feel alone in your values. And if your courage helps one more person rise, then the discomfort was worth it. You didn't ask for this position, but now that it's here, you'll carry it with fire in your heart and truth on your tongue. You're not just walking your path, you're clearing the way for others to walk theirs. Let them whisper, let them speculate, let them twist your name into their own fearful fiction. Every rumor they start, every side-eye they throw, is proof that your light is reaching places they thought were untouchable. You are not the problem. They are reacting to the power they never expected you to own. You don't need to clear your name in rooms you never belonged to in the first place. The truth follows you like a shadow. It speaks when you don't. You're not feared because you're reckless. You're feared because you're righteous, because you can't be controlled, because you expose the rot behind their polished facades without raising your voice. You are the reflection they can't avoid and the voice they can't drown out. You make people reckon with themselves, and that's why they gossip. It's not confusion, it's conviction. They hoped their words would diminish you. Instead, they built your legend. Every lie told, every warning whispered, only proved that you were someone worth fearing, worth watching, worth trying to silence. But what they never understood is this: you don't run from conflict, you stand still in truth. And the truth has always been louder than their noise, so let them talk, let them exhaust themselves trying to define what they'll never understand. You've already won, not by shouting, not by fighting, but by standing, unshaken, undeniable, and unapologetically real. You didn't ask for power, but you were given authority, the kind that can't be taken, only recognized. That's why they fear you, not because you're loud, but because your presence makes lies tremble and masks slip. You became a force, without trying, a leader without a title, a threat simply by standing in your truth. And now they talk, because they see what you've awakened. Keep showing up, keep speaking truth, keep defending those who need it. Your name holds weight now. The ones who tried to bury you with silence are being buried by the noise of their own exposure. And all you had to do was be who you are.